And at 6 o'clock, I'd like to call the May 3rd, 2022 Village Board meeting to order. Danny, will you lead us in the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Allison, roll call, please.
Trustee White?
Here.
Trustee Shomas?
Here.
Trustee Lundy?
Here.
Trustee Herron?
Here.
Trustee Bonnie?
Here.
President Conan?
Here.
Trustee Walter?
Is absent. Okay, we do have a quorum. We have nothing scheduled under public hearing this evening, nor do we have anything under appointments and presentations, and we are not doing an airport report this evening. Up next is public comment on items that are scheduled for action this evening. Forgive me for a minute, I got some reading to do, but under consent agenda this evening, item A, approval of the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 Village Board meeting. B, approval of the vouchers. C, resolution authorizing an amended and supplemental agreement with IDOT for the 2021 local and motor fuel road programs. D, a resolution authorizing the purchase of bulk road salt. E, a resolution authorizing the purchase of streetlight poles. F, a resolution authorizing a contract for Public Works Facility Office flooring replacement, Douglas floor covering. G, a resolution authorizing a construction engineering service agreement with DEI for Phase Lane and Whispering Oaks water main improvements. H, an ordinance updating the village code regarding amusement device licensing. Also, this evening, under general business, we have A, an ordinance establishing a new Class S liquor license event venue. B, a resolution amending fees and the number of licenses per liquor class. C, approval of the 2022-23 liquor license, Rosewood Farm. D, an ordinance granting an extension of the expiration date for a zoning variation on certain property 1912 Phase Lane. E, a resolution awarding the 2022 road program motor fuel tax contract resurfacing. F, a resolution awarding the 2022 road program local funds contract microsurfacing. G, a resolution approving a real estate contract for the sale of certain property located at 140 and 160 South Municipal Drive and 3 vacant parcels. H, a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement UTV Polaris government purchasing program. Are there any public comments on any of those items? Going once, going twice. We will close public comment at this time. Up next, consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? I would ask that one of the board members please remove item E. Thank you. Any other items need to be removed? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of item E?
As stated.
Thank you.
Second.
I got a first out of Trustee Shomas and a second out of Trustee Herron. Roll call, please.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Herron?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy? Aye. Trustee White?
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, item E, resolution authorizing the purchase of streetlight poles. Brad.
Basically, we accidentally attached the wrong order report. So the order report awards it to a different company than the resolution does. So it's actually supposed to be awarded to City Electric Supply for $16,954.
Glad I made you pull that.
What's the question? We have two decorative light poles. Where are those located?
There's some in Cracker Woods and some in Sutton Ridge, and then also out of Roundabout.
Okay, I was just wondering.
That's where we've had the most damage.
Okay. No, I was looking for those ones.
Brad, was the resolution in the packet also incorrect?
Those are correct.
Resolution.
The resolution is correct.
When we awarded the contract to
They were going to award it to City Electric.
So City
The
Electric.
board report wants us to read.
Board report was incorrect.
Okay. And the dollar amount for City Electric is 16.
It's 16,954. Dollar amount was wrong in the contract. Sorry.
Okay.
So it's $16,954. wrong because it was a draft board report.
The resolution is right.
Yes, right, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm clear to pass the resolution.
thank you. I've got a first to pass the resolution.
Second.
I got a second on trustee Shomez. Please roll call, please.
I'm sorry, can you say?
First was trustee White. White.
I'll vote yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Shomez.
Yes.
Trustee Heron.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee Bonner.
Motion passes. Thank you. Up next, we have under general business an ordinance establishing a new Class S liquor license for the event venue. Allison.
So, this is, we created a Rosewood Farm that was, operated, last fall, late summer, has requested, to have a liquor license. We did not have, classifications that really met their needs at all or reflected what their business is. So, we reviewed surrounding communities that may have similar ones. There weren't a lot that actually met the needs of the business, so we came up with our own and tried to base it off of what we already have in language, similar to some of the activities that we have in here. So consumption on premises, sale or consumption off premises, and then also BYOB provision. That's really if someone wants to bring in liquor for their event, special liquor for their event, we will then still be served by Rosewood staff. They will have the bass training, so that is the provision of that. But so we talked with Julie, and she has reviewed it, and really just wanted to put it out for your consideration, and if you like it, approval, and if not, we can make some changes.
Any more discussion?
The sales or consumption off premises. We just talking package liquor here, or are we talking if somebody buys for the event and takes something left? What are we talking about there?
It was for packaged liquor, for gift baskets.
Yeah. For gift basket, we obviously want to do like themed gift baskets, dealing with the farm, support local breweries or other things that we can sell. We're gonna have a farm shop on site, so we might sell, like a 6-pack of beer or something that can sort of pick up some vegetables with that as well.
So I have a little bit of an issue, a couple things with the liquor licensing. So I think there's a lot of bad things that can happen with that packaged liquor attached to this venue ordinance. So in my mind, legally, then by ordinance, you could have a wedding, and at the end of the wedding, you can open up for sale of packaged liquor for your guests to take when they leave. That's dangerous. We should not have that at all. So you look at the second factor in this is the gift baskets, and that's a whole other issue other than the venue itself having a wedding. So I think there's two things here in play. You have your wedding, your what is this, special event, your wedding, or special events liquor license for event venue would be one, and then we should be looking at a second liquor license that would be required for the sale of package of liquor. And I would maybe try to make that so it's not at the same time as the events are happening. It's on weekends, or there's a gift basket already, correct?
Specialty basket.
A special basket, and that does not qualify because of why, Allison? Is it just because the sale has to be the majority of sales have to be flowers and baskets? Did I read it correct?
Yes, with sales of flower arrangements.
So I like the event venue. I went through it. I don't think there's a whole lot of other classifications that would fall for this event venue. I do have the issue with the alcohol consumed off the premises, and then I have an issue with the cost as well that we have down here. So the cost is at $750. We just went through this. I feel like the other day about compiling all of our liquor licensing, making it fair across the board for everybody. And I would like to see that taken back to 750, back to the 1850 for that we were charging the majority of other businesses that are hosting events and selling alcohol.
I agree with regard to the fee.
With regard to what, sorry?
Fee, the package.
Okay.
I mean, if we had a time limit on that, I don't think the plan is to have an open store.
No.
I think it's I mean, if we can do something like 7 o'clock time limit, that way it's not turning into what I would see fit. And I did talk to Brian a little bit about the fee. At this point, they're really looking at it as a seasonal type venue. So I was okay with the fee based on that. And then in the future, if it turns into something that was a year-round thing, I would like to see the limitations on the package. Because I know how a lot of people are really like it's party going.
Is there any other comments? I'm sorry, Mike. Trustee Sherman.
You put the 2 mics next.
I didn't put anybody anywhere. These are not
That would
my
be an issue.
sentences.
So you're okay with B as long as it's time bound. You as an active duty police officer bring up some very good points, Trustee Bobby. I would think addressing time bound in that. How do you feel about that? I think that might, if you could come to terms with that, I think that might.
Yeah, I think some time constraints might be okay. I mean, it sounds like it's mostly wanting to sell it during maybe the weekends, during, events that she's having more related to the farm than the actual wedding venue itself. So, time stuff's okay. And then we go back into, should it really be 2 licensing though? And I really feel that it should be 2 separate licenses. If we do have a license for that gift basket or for selling 6-packs of local home brewery or things like that, then that in itself is something other than the event venue license that we're creating. We have, you look at a golf course, we have the golf course license, they have to get their whole different license than their restaurant license. It's 2 separate things, and it's also, we can control if we do need to revoke or suspend a license. I'm not sure we won't, but we have that option of suspending one license and not the other. So I think really what we're looking at, there's 2 totally separate licensing that she needs. And I'm for the packaged liquor for her, as long as it's done the right way. And adding it in this license here for the event venue, I just think it's the wrong spot for it. We really should separate it. Unfortunately, we'll have 2 different fees yearly, but other people have to pay the 2 different fees too, so it's not like it's the only one.
We've got a new business coming into town, trying to follow a business model that's a little unique. Do we have the option, at least in the first year, if we come to terms and say, look, let's keep the fees consistent, but in this case we've got a new business, or maybe we discount it for the first year for this business because of the uniqueness of the business model and what is trying to happen there. I'm hearing this, and I'm just trying to figure out how to make it a real encumbrance to get a business off the ground.
How is it not a catering license? I mean, the catering license is $11.50 versus, a regular full restaurant at $18.50. She's not a regular full restaurant. She has limited hours of operation. I totally hear what you're saying and want to support a new business, and I think we've tried to do that along the way, which really getting it through the process. But at the same time, we also sat here, and I agree with Trustee Bonnie, we sat here a couple of weeks ago, and these businesses have been
We
in our town,
did a lot of
and
standardization there.
we can try to, and they're here, and we're supporting them. We don't want to say we only support new business. We support all our business owners. So trying to be consistent across the board is what will make it easier for this board sitting here making decisions, I think.
And I think that's something that, when I brought it up to Brent, you mentioned that this is something that they plan on bringing comprehensive and corporate values, maybe get rid of some of the less features, streamline, easy to do. As you said, we can bring in exceptions, we can this exception, that exception. So it's not going to necessarily be a real easy task, but it's certainly something we talk about already doing. This is something that's needed to get ready for the season. Let's get it done. And bring back just set as an opportunity to all that around some of these design comments.
Totally understood, but at the moment, we don't have anybody who falls under K. Am I wrong? So it's not listed here, which is a catering license. So I guess,
So she's not a caterer
because she's not making the food.
Right.
I think the need for this ordinance to have that venue added in there, I think it's a need. I think as we move forward, there might be other venues, wedding venues, banquet halls, things like that that might fall underneath this. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I really think it's two separate licensing, and I have an issue with the pricing. Unfortunately, we need to be more than average with what we're charging everybody else.
Can I ask you, what's your first event? The reason I ask is this is the first time the board has discussed your license and your unique parameters.
Yeah.
And I don't want to rush to judgment on our first night when we haven't discussed it before based on the needs of your operation, but I also am sensitive to the fact that you're trying to open soon.
Normally for June would be the month that I can have everything in line and the events start. So I do have some things booked for June. Hopefully.
So if we can approve at our next meeting, continue discussion in here, see where the board falls, and we approve the next meeting, then it should be fine for the June events.
How does it take the next whole license?
Fingerprinting she's already done.
Right, we have the results and this is all the paperwork set, and you guys have approved it, and we sign it, and she gets it. We'll get it to her as soon as we can. We're waiting for it to be approved on that.
So yeah, which will take, she did that last week? How long does it take you to go to that process? Okay. So I guess my point is, we have some time to clean it up a little bit and maybe consider the two licenses. Matt brings up a very valid point in separating the two. Julie, would you be opposed to the concept, seeing that
I
we're
probably wouldn't go with the package then, like I would just go for the event, because I think right now, money-wise, like that's just not an option.
Okay.
I understand, so that's.
well, and that protects you as well,
of course.
because if someone were to, let's say take that package
Of
stuff,
course.
and it's all tied to one license, and you have a wedding the next day, it could be a problem.
So would that fall, I know it's packaged, but what's a beer and wine specialty shop? Is what she's proposing, so that would fall into that. I don't know.
Maybe we change the specialty basket.
Yeah, modify that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done in chapter 2, license, early control. There's a rabbit hole on every page. So
But
we
let's-
do understand that this is a project coming up in the coming months, and we were just working with Julie, to help get it ready for this.
And I think the goal is to get this through the process, but like I said, I had concerns when I heard about it. Matt obviously has some concerns, and we want to address them before we vote on it. That's why I'm not going to
So if I'm understanding correctly, the board's looking to eliminate B
Well, I don't know that I'm okay with the fee.
I was gonna get to that next. No, I was gonna say, so if A and C are okay, then we're left with what's the appropriate fee. So we're back to as staff, there's nothing for us to do between now and 2 weeks unless you talk about it tonight, otherwise we're
Right.
here 2 weeks.
No.
So you may be able to approve it tonight still, I'm not saying you have to.
And the fee is separate from the ordinance that establishes the event. So this only is
But the ordinance right now,
the fee is the next page. You approve this.
the ordinance links the two, doesn't it?
You get there.
It's the next resolution, amending fees in the number of liquor licenses. So the ordinance creates the liquor license classification, and then you set the fee, and then you award the license. You say, okay, there's going to be one event, then you assign it to Rosewood Farm. So it's actually a three-step process, because then you have to approve the liquor license. So
Do we put time limitations on it? Other than the fact that they set a time limitation on the venue itself. We limit the hours, sale of alcohol.
I think it's in the ordinances, during the, I think it's general, isn't it? 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. I think it's 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yeah, I think it's or 2 a.m. Unless it's a golf course, and golf course is 6 a.m. I believe. The ordinance states. I think it's in the beginning of the chapter. I'm okay with approving
The amendment.
the amendment.
Classification
Calling it
S.
S. Is it
Yes,
S?
class S, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with approving the actual event venue, ordinance for
Okay, what do we have to remove from there?
Just
Just be.
And also, I'm not sure about the hours. I think those were specifically for a certain classification. But we can always revisit any changes when we do the comprehensive. So if we do it in a couple months, in the month that it comes back. If you have concerns, based on that, we can bring that in too. But I think the hours were for certain classifications have hours.
It's a general provision though that doesn't think it's what you just said, the 8 to 2 a.m. except for the golf course license.
6 to 2.
Just read it to the 13. And it might be the case that some certain licenses have hours that are separate from that.
So from a fee standpoint, are we talking about the 1850?
No,
I think it should be a little closer to either a catering license or a specialty shop based on the business model that she's operating and the amount of things that she has.
I think that it falls closer to the keyword license.
1150. Yeah, I would say.
I'm okay with that. I am okay with that too. I think it's a little bit more in line. I'm more of the 1850, but I'm willing to concede on the price to get this done if we need to.
It's on the record, right?
Yeah.
And I do. I want to see. I'm excited about the venue. I think it's great. I just want to be fair with everybody. So
yeah.
Can I make a motion then?
You certainly can.
Move to approve the creation of a Class S license without a subparagraph fee and with a fee of.
You don't have to write it.
Yeah,
It's next one.
Period.
I will second that.
Okay, I got a first out of trustee White and a second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lenny? Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Shomers?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes unanimously on that. Up next, we have the resolution amending fees and the number of licenses per liquor class. Okay, so let me just get.
So on page 9, event venue S, we will just amend it from 750 to 1,100 to match the catering. Is that correct?
I just want to use other folks too.
So let's just state the resolution, please. So, general business, did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, so it's setting the fee and creating a single license.
Yes, creating one there for Rosewood Farm.
Under item B, resolution amending the fees and the number of liquor license for the liquor class. I'm asking for a motion to approve the resolution, changing the fee to $11.50 and removing, am I removing? No, that's
That's
it.
the one in there already.
Yeah, okay, we're just amending the fee on that. Can I get a motion on that?
As stated.
Thank you, and a second?
Second.
I have a first out of trustee Shomis and a second out of trustee Heron. Roll call, please.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Bobby?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Thank you, motion passes unanimously on that as well. Okay, so then we're ready to move ahead already? We're going to approval of the 22-23 liquor license for Rosewood Farm.
It's subject to staff review.
Okay, subject to attorney review or staff review?
Staff review.
Staff
Just
review.
waiting for the fingerprinting and the finishing of the paper.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the liquor license for Rosewood Farm, subject to staff review?
As stated.
Thank you, and a second?
Second.
I got a first out of trustee Shomis and a second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Thank you, motion passes unanimously. Okay, let me just give you 2 seconds to organize my papers. All right. Up next, we have an ordinance granting an extension of the expiration date for a zoning variation on certain property at 1912 Phase Lane. Danny?
So we received a request from Ryan Carney to give him an extension on the zoning variation that was granted to him last June. He was granted a zoning variation to reduce the side yard setback of his one side yard by 3 feet in order to accommodate an addition to his garage. He has had several things come up that has prevented him from applying for his building permit, and his 12-month requirement is coming close. So he has requested that we give him an extension of 6 months on his zoning variation.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If you remember, this is the one that came up and then all of a sudden went down the architectural rabbit hole. Poor man. We were giving him all sorts of free advice, I think, at the last meeting. So, if there's no...
Obviously it didn't help.
If there's no comments or questions, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance granting the extension?
So can we only extend it 6 months?
You can extend it twice, right?
You can extend it twice. The maximum amount of time that you're allowed to extend it is 6 months at a time, and we requested for the maximum that we would be able to extend.
That could be enough for
6 months.
Yeah.
Reading the letter, it sounds like there's a lot going on, and how much of this is affected by the crazy supply chain that we're all dealing with.
Well,
I would hate for that to be an issue for him, because he's and everybody else.
Yeah.
As long as he applies for his building permit, he's good. He doesn't have to have it built. He has to have a building permit.
Which the building permit will last 12 months.
Okay. I just got some components at work that weren't especially unique. 36 months we're supposed to take 4.
I'm sorry, did you want to answer?
Big Walter and I discussed that separate from this, but related, there's some cleanup for the code that you need to take to the planning commission. In order to, I guess, I thought maybe you could explain what that's going to be, and then you could ask the board why you're doing that. If there's any desire to, it wouldn't help tonight, but amend the limits on what to do an extension. I have no opinion on proposed content. That's the issue. They have to take some to the planning commission anyway.
Yeah.
First of all, if you want to explain.
Yeah, well, briefly, while we were processing this request, we found conflicting language in the zoning ordinance related to the expiration of the zoning variation. So we're obviously going to initiate the process to fix that. If there's interest in changing the limit from 6 months to
I hear what you're saying about supply chain issues, but I also know that, as the world turns, things change and, new things come up. I don't know that we want to change the ordinance necessarily. I think you go to 6 months, see what happens, then you issue them 6 months if you need to. That gives them 12 months from June 8th, right? 12 months from June 8th.
Additional months.
He gets 12 months from this coming June to get a permit that gives him 12 months. That's 2 years. And then he can extend his permit. So he should have ample time without having to amend it. Good, yeah. I mean, so, there's an election next spring. So just so you understand the complete timetable, 3 trustees are up. Hopefully they stay on the board. But keep that in mind. That would take you to the early part of May when they are seated. Okay? I don't know that it's anything that you should be changing though, Walter, in the next, Does anyone agree, disagree with that? And we're in a unique circumstance right now, and until he doesn't follow the parameters?
Sure.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance granting the extension of the expiration date for zoning variation on at 1912 Faceland?
As stated.
I have first out of trustee Shomas and a second out of trustee Heron. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy? Trustee Bonner?
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Up next, a resolution awarding the 2022 road program motor fuel tax contract for resurfacing. Tony.
Yes, we discussed this last fall, and this is the program brought forward. There's 2 parts, 2 resolutions. One is MFT funding, and the other one is funded by the local road infrastructure. So the 2 resolutions, the one for MFT includes Denny Road, Copley Lane, and Rolling Oak subdivision, and the concrete ADA ramps and some curb repairs that go on. The other one that has the road infrastructure fee is for microsurfacing and measures for the subdivision. So those are the 2 separate resolutions.
Are there any questions for staff or Tony? Hearing none. Can I get a motion approving the resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Builders Creating LLC for the 2022 MFT road program?
Second.
We have first out of trustee White and the second out of trustee Shomas. Roll call, please.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie? Trustee Lundy? Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Up next is the resolution awarding the 22. Let me just get a motion. I'm assuming there's no discussion on the next item. St. Tony just went through it. So we're going to award another contract. Yeah. Who's getting it? I'm just on my page. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
ACP.
Yeah. You want to make a motion for me?
So moved.
Can I get a motion? Can I get a motion just approving I don't have the name from the 2022 road program local funds contract for servicing, please. Thank you. Trustee Bonnie, and a second of trustee White. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy? Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously on that as well. Thank you. Up next, we have a resolution approving a real estate contract for the sale of property located at 14160 South Municipal Drive and 3 vacant parcels. Brent.
And also, refrain from the discussion.
You're going to abstain. Trustee White is abstaining from discussion and voting.
Yes, at the last meeting, the board approved a resolution authorizing staff to negotiate a contract for the sale at not less than 100% of the appraised value. We do have a contract in front of you tonight to purchase it at 100% of the appraised appraised value.
Good job.
In the Prairie Glen Partners LLC. And quite honestly, from my perspective, they're willing to pay full price, so I'm good. And I ran it by Laura, who reviewed the actual contract and said it was pretty standard, no issues with it.
Yeah.
Not my area of expertise.
Yeah, that's one change that I did talk to Attorney Kramer about is with the tax prohibition. Some of the parts are tax exempt, and then others who have the tenants paying the taxes, so there'll be a minor adjustment. They'll go up by proration will apply to any parts of the bills that should pay the taxes on.
Okay.
Is that a change to the contract that should reflect the portion?
It's still, I mean, it's within the attorney review period, but I want to make sure that I believe at this point is the only change that they're proposing. I would ask that the attorney review is built into the contract. I would ask for the discretion if any other minor thing comes up, that we be allowed, it's in the standard practice, if the essential terms would not change.
This does require 5 yes votes.
5 including the president.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions about the sale? The future owner is looking to hopefully, in the near future, build out the other lots to lease that space out as well. So it's good for the community to own this property and have someone else. We're not going to do that, so it's nice to have somebody create more vacancy within the village. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the resolution for the sale of the property at 14160 South Municipal and 3 vacant parcels, subject to attorney review and inspection and any minor modifications to the contract?
As stated. Second.
I have the first out of trustee Shomas and the second out of trustee Heron. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? President Cohen?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I should say it unanimous. Who voted for the past? We got 5 votes. Up next, we have a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement UTV Polaris government purchasing. Brad.
So you did all approve this last meeting, but there was a slight change. When I went to issue the PO to Polaris, it went from a 2022 model to a 2023 model, which increased the value by 5%. So it's $1,688 more than what you approved last. Back to ask for approval again.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify with the board. So I know you got an email about it, and I just wanted to make sure that it just happened to be after another email that we're getting, a week ago, at least a week ago. Okay. That we're doing it here. It's very important that even minor changes, and I know sometimes certain things like the song program needed, full obligation to move forward, but when and I know it's a minor dollar amount, you probably got responses that say, okay, but just in case there's any discussion that needs to happen, that we're really getting it done in this room. So that's why it's here, and it's general business and not even a consent, even though they've been put on consent, just because I wanted to recognize the fact that I asked them to work so that you knew, but I don't want to get approved through an email. Check? Okay, are there any issues?
Read the consent agenda too.
No. I know that you read it, but the point being is we're not discussing it when it's on consent. So, that's all.
So if they quoted us for the price for the 2022, are they out of stock on 2022?
Yes. So the problem with the current UTV market is they're out about 120 days. They'll honor this quote for 30 days once the deal is going to be 30 days. So it's impossible to call them for surrounding deal. They allocated so many lines that there wasn't a lot. So that's why I'm required to track government purchasing, which is the only place you get a discount on right now.
It's the fact that it's still discounted under MSRP is probably
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not a huge discount.
Okay.
Good work.
Yeah, exactly. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the purchase of the replacement UTV Polaris government purchasing? I got a first out of trustee Heron, and the second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Alright. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously there. Up next, we have public comment on anything. Do we have any public comment this evening? We do not. Thank you so much. We'll close that portion. Up next, discussion. The industrial traffic evaluation. Brennan.
Yeah, so as you'll remember, April 5th, we was the board approved a PSA with Kinley Horn. Emma Towers here tonight to look at. It's really a two-parter. This is kind of phase one, if you will. There's certainly some blend between the two. The first phase was to look specifically at the Ridgeline proposal from a couple of months ago and do an evaluation on the expected traffic generation in that project. And that's what Emma's here to present tonight. And then she'll come back at a future meeting to talk about more generic, industrial traffic generation from various technologies. So you have in your packet, I think the first 7 pages of the memo. If you bother to look online, there's another, I can't remember how many dozen pages it gets into kind of pages out of the ITE manual. So if you really want to see the, I don't know if those are scatter graphs or what those are technically called.
Like regression graphs.
Oh yeah, those two are in there. It's very interesting. So
That's what you were going to say.
I was. So.
Take it away.
Okay, alright, yeah, so I'll try and sum it up. So with the Ridgeline development, they gave a pretty generic kind of site plan. So based on our kind of knowledge of the industry and experience currently in the market, we made some assumptions based on their building sizes, their clear heights, what we expect kind of out in this area to be uses of those buildings, to kind of be able to estimate the number of trips started. So you'll see just on page 2, we have a couple different industrial categories. So warehousing, then high cube, warehousing, manufacturing. So high cube warehouses tend to be those larger buildings, generally over 500,000 square feet, and they're like high racking. So generally they're larger because they're storing more goods, and so they generally generate less trips. There's only one building on their site plan that was over that size. So yeah, that building 3. Then for the remaining buildings, so we kind of divided those between manufacturing and warehousing. For this board's knowledge, manufacturing is kind of the highest generating use based on land use codes in the ITE manual. Talking to my industrial partners, actually, Chicagoland doesn't do a whole ton of manufacturing. It's more assembly, so especially kind of as we get into the far, we'll call western suburbs. But General Mills, the one on there's General Mills right on Orchard, right? So stuff like that, or candy factory, or stuff like that. That would all fall under manufacturing. That could be here. And then some of those just kind of standard warehousing. Midwest Warehouse is a big company out here, Ryder, in terms of logistics companies, and then all retail entities also maintain their own kind of warehousing and distribution facilities. So this site plan, based on Ridgeline's kind of connections, it could be a lot of things. It could be a use that we didn't consider. It could be research and development. If they find kind of a lab type of use, they tend to end up in industrial areas too. It could be Target, it could be Walmart, it could be anyone's favorite Amazon. And as the end user is identified, that's going to have a significant impact on your generated trips. So, Brent and I kind of talked about, well, what are options for controlling what the end user is? I don't know those off the top of my head in terms of your ordinance or whatnot obligations and options, but that is really key. So when Ridgeline comes back, is really to have my recommendations of understanding as to who's going to be in those buildings, because that'll give the board a clear picture of what the traffic impact is actually going to be.
So I think some of the things that we've been talking about, I think we're going to explore further kind of the second phase of the report, is that what can the village potentially do? Obviously, we've got to agree to it, to put what are site-specific or building-specific things we can put in place that would lend a project to more or less have uses we want. If we start with the assumption that you're not looking for a 24/7 Amazon, Walmart, whoever you want to say, operation right across the street here. Well, the generic zoning would allow kind of whatever, and certainly the developers may not, more than likely, they won't know who's going to go into the building. So what we want to explore in the next phase is, we've talked about a little bit before, are there things that part of the agreement, negotiated agreement, where the limits trailers, limits the number of doctors. I don't know what those factors are, but that's really kind of gets more into phase two. I think on this one here, as Emma said, they made certain assumptions based on what they've seen in this marketplace. But there's no way to say for sure that is or isn't what's going to happen. I don't know if you could talk a little bit on based on the assumptions that you made, what that does result in traffic and how it compares to current existing.
Sure. Yeah, so if you go to page 5, so average daily traffic, or let's call it EBT, roadways foot has, you don't have a value on it. You'll see the existing AEBT in table 6. That's kind of the traffic that's currently on all of the roads surrounding the development. Given the estimated daily traffic from Ridgeline, we then created build EBT, and then, oh geez, I'm on the wrong table. I'm sorry. Right, table 5. They're also showing tables 6. Not the percent increase that I'm getting to. So then in the last column, you'll see the percent increase. So we're anywhere from 4 to 8%. The IDOT library does not have daily truck traffic on the roadways in this area, so I couldn't give you a truck number. We could do counts out there, or ask the developer to do counts out there to determine the truck numbers. So the roadways can handle it. They're all currently operating fine, at least in the throughput. Really what would be determined in the traffic study is operations at the 2 main intersections. So 30, 47, and Galena, and 30 and Municipal. Those are fairly large. They have major turn lanes, and so based on these traffic numbers, I would estimate that the existing infrastructure could handle it, but like I said, a detailed traffic study would tell us that information as to if any other improvements would be needed at those intersections. And then Brent did ask, so the site plan included a right in, right out, like right off of the 30 off ramp. They would have to go to IDOT for approval on that. I don't know that that's a guarantee at all. It presents a pretty significant safety issue, in my opinion, given the weed maneuver that would happen there. And from a traffic perspective, I don't know that it gives them much advantage because they could just make a right turn at Municipal, 500 feet out. So I think their site plan was laid out that way, and that's why that right in, right out ended up there. But my person, I don't think I'd have called for it.
We didn't either.
Yeah. That's a guess. They can ask. Anybody can ask, but.
One of the other things we talked about on that page 5, LOS level of service, if I understand correctly, is traffic engineer role, a D is considered acceptable?
D is good. So we have A through F. E is what we consider at capacity. So anything with D or better is great. Once you get anything over capacity, you're at an F. E is pretty uncomfortable. E is what you drive every day, because you're really uncomfortable everywhere you drive. Chicagoland area. But E is, again, absolutely acceptable. But when they do a detailed traffic study, there may be some movements at the intersection that are operating at less than that, just because you wait for a while to get your turns to lane light, just because it's giving priority to the main lane.
Yeah, I think that page 5, you can see they all stay the same, with the exception of 47 north, which goes from current B to a C, still
great.
better than and some of the other things when we look through it as a staff, that you can see on page 4, the trip distribution, and again, based on your expertise, how they break that down. think the other part that I would just highlight is, if you go to page 3, table 3, I got to do a little quick mental math, but if I'm remembering correctly from when I looked at it earlier, the concern generally is, trucks. And obviously you can see, depending upon which buildings and what use you assign to them, the ratio of trucks to cars. But I think if I remember correctly, the AM peak hour in and out, trucks was 40.
Yeah.
And I think the PM was 45. Yeah. So again, I understand that some people would say, well, one more truck is too many. But I think it's fair to say in the traffic engineer world, adding 40 more trucks, that's combined both in and out.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, in and out.
In a peak hour of 45, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot. So when you think about it, if the traffic is split between the 2 intersections, say you have 20 trucks coming in, 20 trucks coming out, so you have 10 coming in at one intersection, 10 coming in another. I like to think of things in every minute, right? You got 60 minutes in an hour. So 10 in 60 minutes, that's like 1 every 6 minutes. It's not, I think a lot of people like to think, 10 trucks, that's like, there's a line of trucks. It can, 10 trucks, it's not. You're not.
That's per building.
That's total.
That's total.
Yeah, I think it's so 5, 10, 20. There's definitely have a truck. Truck row on here. Table 3. We can improve table 3.
So I think, when we talk about it, staff, and the dilemma is it's 1 degree, the unknown is still the worst. If this is presented with what actually goes in there, I think a lot of people would say from a purely traffic perspective, that's not setting aside others' concerns, whatever it may be. Maybe it's not so bad, but the problem is we've got to work on kind of next is, and I don't expect you to be able to answer on the topic. Yeah. What is the worst case? What happens if 2 of these buildings become almost 24/7 operations? I would guess it can build these numbers up.
Yeah, and a lot of companies, especially like that are doing kind of grocery deliveries, like Walmart has gone to like 2-day delivery, or you can get your groceries delivered from there. They are pulling some of those groceries from warehousing. They're not being pulled from stores. And so, stuff like that, that's generating a lot of cars. And so a lot of times we won't see truck trips increase, we'll see an increase in cars. Anything that you're ordering from Amazon that's coming in 2 days is coming from one of their delivery stations. And you're seeing either, an Amazon van or someone in their car bringing it. Well, those are car trips, which it's more traffic than what what are these ITE, but it's not more truck trips. So, but eventually if you get to a certain traffic number, people are going to obviously be sensitive to car and van trips too. So
for this report, what do you consider a truck? We got 2 choices: it's a car or a truck.
It's like a what am I saying? A van. So a van would be considered a car. Hang over. Sorry. So
if it's got an extra axle.
If it has an extra axle, I think it's because like a box, right? A UPS or like an Amazon like box truck, that would still be technically considered a car because it only has 2 axles. Yeah, we could certainly separate if it's an end user like that. People can get a little sensitive to the van trips when we get into certain end users. So we've done separate car and van trip generation. But this only considers ITE only considers truck and car. And a truck would be, I think I would have to check the axle count on ITE. It would be any semi is what we consider.
So are we able to pull from this and basically say phase 2, building 3 at 585,000 square feet, even though this plan was pulled, information was pulled from the plan across the street, if somebody were to locate that size building within the village, would we use the same assumptions?
Yes. So in the next memo, you will have like additional trip generation data on even more uses. But
village-wide.
Yeah. We use the same trip generation transaction rates, all of it would change.
Is the site specific or just the distribution where they go?
Correct.
So this is the users are
Yeah.
And I know we talked a little bit about, I'm sure for probably everybody read the online the extra pages with the regression analysis.
Yeah.
From our discussion, I think that was data that was pulled from North America, including Canada, over multiple decades, and we did have a little conversation about the confidence level and being relevant to what's happening today or what's happening today in sugar growth. So I don't know if you found that those numbers would still hold true.
Yes, if we get the question on how valid are these numbers, right? Because they're from studies generally from the 80s to the 2010s. And it's whatever basically people will give to ITE. ITE is not a large organization, so they collect trip generation information that they can get their hands on as cheaply as possible. So that said, if you know the end user, we have also done, based on your operational characteristics, we can determine trips that way. If you have, expect X number of transactions or X number of, employees arriving at one time, well, everybody's coming in a car to, this area of sugar growth, right? So you can say, oh, we have 300 employees, we got 300 trips in. Plus, how many truck deliveries do you expect during the day? Well, then you have your trips. So that would be a way to really understand the localized input.
Anybody have any questions?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
I think the most fascinating piece of information on it, for those who look at it, is Table 5, relative distribution, the percent increases on the main thoroughfares. Right? In one way, you can look at the added traffic up 47 driving toward I-88 as we're only adding 8%, or you can say we're adding 8% with one industrial development at the central south end of town, I suppose, put 8% of that, or 8% increase in traffic on that road. I also find it interesting, though, that very similar numbers kind of be just jumping right down and now toward I-88.
Sometimes consider those that we also have surrounding communities that add to our traffic flows. Choice, that's just a natural increase.
Yorkville's going to keep pulling traffic up to the 47. How often is the train running on the train tracks? So she said one truck every 6 minutes. I'm just curious how often.
Look at it for the very last subdivision. That's been 2 years. I don't know if it's.
You can hear it anymore?
For summertime, if your windows open, try to watch TV.
The conversation is curious if you know off the top of your head, based on acreage or number of housing units or something, how many houses you cars. What's a residential subdivision comparison to this?
Sure. So rule of thumb, a single family house generates 10 trips a day. And
yes.
No.
Easily.
No. 10 trips an hour?
No.
Maybe a Jen's house.
Pretty sure it's 10 trips a day. Yeah.
No, that's right.
I don't know what it is in the peak hour. I have to look it up.
You and your spouse get 2 cars, that's 4 trips, right? You're leaving and you're coming from work. Plus, you're going to the restaurant, you're going to pick up the kids for baseball. Each of those is an in and out, so that's 1 trip. 10 is easy.
So,
how many acres is this? I know it's not residential.
112. 112. Right?
I was just kind of trying to do some quick math on that. Say, okay, not 3 residential. Would that be 300 units or something?
Right.
To compare.
Yeah, where it's not really probably that much different.
How many, 112 acres?
So you can get what? How
This
big
is
are the
where-
lots? How big are the lots here? 4-acre lots? How big are the
Over there, you multifamily.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I'm looking at this thinking, it's roughly, 4,000 site trips a day. Matt's supposed to be doing math with the finance guy.
He's still on vacation.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
But yeah, so I guess my point is being,
Yeah.
it's just seeming like it's trucks versus cars, but it's really probably about the same amount of traffic in total. In this case, as you get out of the road.
Let me, I can get but in the second memo, we do some comparison to like an office building because that's what we find. A lot of us like, I don't want industrial, too much traffic. But if you start to look at like retail and office uses, I mean it's very different, much higher generator uses. So
Question, with that, the house traffic in the office, if you count the visitors, less traffic pandemic because most companies have stayed with the, at least we didn't work from home so many days a week. And my trip to work is a lot better than it used to be before the pandemic.
yeah, so we actually just got word from IDOT District 1 that they're no longer requiring traffic studies to do a COVID factor. So like when we did traffic studies during COVID, we would get counts, right? Estimate, well, these counts are lower than what they typically would be, right? But in kind of the traffic world, we consider traffic now to be back to normal levels. But it will be interesting to see, and the data probably won't show up for like another 10 years, about what offices are generating now versus what they were 3 years ago.
It's very popular for a lot of companies to just stay with, okay, everyone gets to work 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Eventually we'll see that data, but it's probably years out.
As soon as you said IDOT, you had my attention. So
Sorry.
I have to ask, are they adding a percentage? Are they using a factor to say, here's your traffic study, and then, we're kind of post-pandemic, but still numbers aren't back, so let's add, whatever it may be.
Yeah, so we were actually, with every traffic study we were doing in 2020 and 2021, we were getting a daily traffic count, which we typically don't do, like on just through traffic on a road, because that's the data that is comparable to what IDOT maintains. And we would take that data that we got in 2020 and compare it to like the latest that IDOT had, which was 2019, and typically it was lower. So then based on that percent difference, we would factor our intersection counts up by that same amount. So we were adequately representing what traffic at normal conditions would be.
So if we hired you for a traffic study at a particular intersection, and you were able to.
Yes, very much like you said.
Yes.
Yeah. But like just like 2 months ago, we got notice from IDOT that you were always doing EDT count?
Different location. And then you get it
Yeah.
Yeah, your infamous signal. I've heard about your infamous signal.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
We still don't have it.
I know. I got an infamous signal at Northbrook once. So.
Yeah.
She's stealing for us.
Yeah, they're sticklers for a meeting, but more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you find a workaround, you let us know.
So I think on this phase, certainly if you have follow-up questions after tonight's discussion, let us know, and we'll get them to have and give us some answers. But otherwise, I think unless that, we'll kind of consider this a wrap for this part of it, and then we'll move on to the next. I think I'm already working on it. We'll roll into that, and then just as an aside, we did get the proposal from Kinley Horn noise side of it, and also from Dr. Thunder, applied acoustics, I can't remember the official name of the doctor, but and Walter's doing some follow-up on that to got work done.
If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to. I guess field them to work.
Yeah.
But you can feel free to reach out.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I just did some napkin math, and say hypothetically, you putting quarter-acre, single-family house parcels out there, however many homes, right, key stuff in, you're gonna have more traffic out of the residential community than what she was projecting. That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you. Up next, staff reports. We'll swing it this way. We'll start with Chief.
Much more than that's in the board report. A couple of other issues that computer showed up for the emergency warning session, so I kind of saw that spring last day, so we back up in operational, so we have been working. But they're a little bit crazy for years, so I'm glad about that. So that the officers are suffering still waiting. There are 2 cars out front on eBay. So hopefully we can do it to the next day, see what we can do to the pricing on the box. So we pretty good. Hopefully we'll capture some of the costs for the cost of the stuff. Lastly, my squad car right now should be here by the end of this week.
Curious, what is the cross training for Nixa? How many staff members do we have trained on Nixa to put on parks?
Myself, that's a lot of Alex and myself, and I think every department has the opportunity to go out. And then the fire department share it, just so everyone's split it, so there's 50 off during, so we have the same amount. They also have the opportunity to step on.
With the changeover over there, do you know if who's trained?
All three of the town training when we first started with it, so I don't know if fluency utilizing its police 20. I don't know if was it.
From my desktop, it was easy.
I mean, there's a bunch of templates you just pull it off and plug in the information and send it out. Just select it. So a lot of agencies in the area have the same file. So internally for anyone else also my command staff is not utilizing it.
Does anybody have any questions for Chief?
I'm just looking through this. Sorry, but Chief, I was driving down Hartman, and there were trucks filling up their water on our entrance. Road maintenance trucks. Is that something we could do?
Yeah. Not very large, but we're just west of the industrial park.
There's 2 places that because of all, so our guys also watch sports on the town to see landscapers and other businesses for other things. So the watercolor or Grove Street, where it's dry, and I know fire service has a photo. They don't have any fire papers, so they'll fill up for their service area. So it's pretty much that we've seen.
Another thing somebody mentioned to me that some of the businesses in Big Rock licenses don't have any place to get a fingerprint. That's something that we is there something on that? About these other
I mean, whether, yeah, so currently, fingerprint for businesses and residents in the community, during the time of the rainbow cards, case-by-case basis will take care of VOSG, what's going to come in or no other communities charge a fee for that. But, you know, again, when we're shared and not out on the street, so, and there's certain cars that we do not print for, that we have to go to a registered landscape vendor. Ours, we do bowlings as well as landscape, but it's more for instead of set up in the state program for circular, they can get that posting through a different agency for that. Not for the state. We need to go to the pay at the time, like go to
Any other questions? Thanks, Chief. Mayor?
Yeah, so I'll go over kind of a couple things. I attended the Active Campaign conference, which kind of goes into my police mention for update. Consolidation is continuing to go forward. We did get our date finally. It's June 24th. So that's our for Sugar Road. Police mention is now June 24th for transfer of assets. There's still a lot of stuff that they need to improve at consolidation level. That's supposed to be improved at May 15th meeting. As far as finalizing rates of returns for actuarial studies, they have some of it, but not all. So that's still being improved. Fire is done. There is also the lawsuit that's pending with King County that is supposed to be ruled out. The judge gave a date of May 20th to actually rule on that lawsuit. So everyone's waiting to see what happens there. And that's basically the lawsuit that was suing for consolidation. So they've had it for a couple months now, and it's actually a really big one. Obviously, as everyone knows, that occurred for investments. So first order was powerful for them, but so they lost about 5.9% loss, which is about $380,000. A quick update on ARPA from this email. I know I had an email to President Ronan Brent. As of Thursday, which was 2 days prior to reporting, I sent a phone call for an hour and 20 minutes. And I clicked the button to call back, and they said I was still number 53 in line. I never got a call back. So that Friday, I called them again. I ended up only being third in line. It was like 4:30 on Friday, and we're all due on Saturday. Which they found my ticket that I submitted to them back on March 21st. This is on my 13th with them. Still don't have access. I have no ability to report normally anything. And I'm not getting it. They said that they were going to be blasting out emails to everybody for the portal. It's going to stay open because they can't keep up. So there will be no penalties according to the person I talked to in the Treasury because we have open tickets with them. And they were able to find it, and I got ticket numbers and everything. So that's basically what the state also said. I reached out to them. They basically said, keep all your tickets, all your emails, everything you have. So I have screenshots of my phone calls that I'm just sitting on hold for an hour and 20 minutes. So we're hoping for no penalties, but I just checked 3 times today. So that's where we're at.
That's painful.
And we're not the only one for it. I've talked to other places. I've talked to a lot of companies.
Why is that? They give no explanation?
The amount of disconnect between you're actually getting a login to a portal and actually having the applications linked to yours is everything is simple. So being able to do points of contact is completely separate in IT versus having the actual web app to do portal for documentation or reporting is completely separate. It's not uploaded over one user. So they have to start linking everything as you call it. But it seems in this. So I've reached out to everyone else.
Thank you.
So I'll keep everyone updated as we go through that. Our utility billing clerk started on Monday, so she's here working. So that's being helpful for us as far as coverages. And today we had our entrance conference for the audit. So the field will start in 2 weeks. If we work in July. Currently, tentative schedule is first meeting in September will be the presentation to the board. And we'll do that resolution we talked about fund balances. That'll be the last meeting. That's the tentative date right now. Is barring any changes, we should have everything done.
When do we have to have it finalized by the first meeting in October?
So when it gets presented in that first meeting in September, it'd be presented and accepted.
Okay.
The resolution addressing the fund balance like we did last year will be the end of August. So once that's approved, then they'll finalize it in all prints. And once it's presented, it's accepted. It's due by October 31st. That's the deadline. But once it's approved and accepted, then you can handle all the compliance.
Those dates are early though, because I feel like we did the first meeting in October.
They are. So we're trying to push it up. One, because August is a 5 Tuesday, so we get an extra week. That gives them an extra week of time to finalize the meeting and all the prints and reviews. So they were completely comfortable with that.
That's great.
As far as time goes. So.
Both means positive. All right. Any questions for Matt?
Yeah, you mentioned the loss in the first quarter for the police pension board at 5.6. Was that wasn't on the bond side? I'm guessing. Or was that the overall?
That was overall for the quarter.
How do we do against the S&P and data pension?
Everything was down. I mean, essentially, their equities were down.
Yeah. Will be better than benchmark.
Not slight. It was pretty much even. But not a big change between the benchmarks.
In the TIP conference, I believe in your board report, the notes in there, but how was that? I mean, you said, if anybody wants to see the agenda.
Yeah, I have to look at it. Shows that all the presentations. The morning sessions were all on business districts. Even though it is a TIP conference, a lot of the people that do TIP do business districts. So it's discussing overlappings and how you layer a TIP on top of a business district, creations of business districts, which you can do. So that was a lot of discussions regarding pending statutes or law changes. They kind of got into the TIP reform. But overall, I think it was a good conference. A lot of information and a lot of back and forth on how to be more proactive with TIF law and TIF statutes and amendments so that we're not reacting to full revamps that we've seen get shut down. They did talk a lot about that bill from Senator Gillespie that ended up failing and not going anywhere, but essentially she was listening to one school district and didn't want to listen to anybody else. They were having meetings with her with other representatives, ITI presidents, IML president, and she wasn't even paying attention during Zoom calls. They said that she was on her phone, she wasn't even looking, she didn't care what meetings. So they basically categorized it as one school district got her here, and she would listen.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Does anybody have anything else for Matt? Tony.
I don't have anything additional. Staff report.
I wanted to say, I know it's a small amount, but hey, always a congrats on the IRMA grant. There was a little money in there in your staff, in your board report, or your staff report rather.
Yes.
So every little bit helps. Keep looking for grant opportunities. I know a lot of times we don't qualify for certain things, and that's frustrating in itself, but when you do find one that fits, it's good, especially if you get it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything for Tony? What's the power washing date? I know I asked. on the water towers.
So,
Thanks, Brad. That's a good non-answer.
The first to know.
Where do you circle the water tower? Wait, get my trip count up. Thank you, Tony. Walter.
The only thing that I'll add from the board report that was in the package is we got 4 new building permits for buying homes this week. Days off to a good start.
How many is that this year from now?
At least 11.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. That's great news. Do we know, have you heard any progress from them on acquiring more property?
No.
Okay.
Still sort of rolling line at that side. Yes.
Yeah, someone just asked me about that as well. That was hiding.
They're moving forward, although at snail's pace.
Did you get the feedback from last week? I think?
Yeah, once we got feedback there, from their metro or permitting group with them. Then they're going to resubmit their revisions. They told us this week.
They told you you'll see it this week? We'll go with it.
Side note on that is, we all know the existing subway is going to move into the building, and I was chatting with them last week, and they said one of the other stores that they're doing an update, they ordered the equipment, instead of changing it, we had to pay 100% in advance. The building is still big, we have no idea when we'll be able to move the building through all this stuff.
That's crazy. So I know this, maybe I'm supposed to know this, but I read through your full report and working with Triumph on the sanitary service line that was abandoned. In stormwater drainage issue.
Yeah. Last month or 2 months ago, it was actually Oshkosh. They had a sewer backup in their facility. They couldn't figure out why. They brought in their plumber, and the plumber tried rotting out the service line and reached an obstacle, and they figured out where the obstacle was, and it was on the new decode property. And make a very long story short, we determined that there was a unmapped sanitary or service line for Oshkosh that went off-site onto the decode property. The decode, or Triumph during the construction process, encountered it and ignored it and capped it. So that's why you see the driveway broken up out there, because they had to do a repair.
Very interesting. I was like, I read that, I was like,
it's a classic example of why we insist on getting as-built from every commercial development, because none of the current sanitary service line is not where it was on the approved plans. We never got as-built for the Oshkosh plan. So everybody's going off incorrect plans. For construction, they found this line. At the time, they tell us nothing was flowing, and so they thought it was abandoned, so they capped it. It created a problem for Oshkosh.
I was going to say, if that's right.
Yes. Yeah.
oh, interesting. Okay. Thank you for that update. Michael.
Well, I just want to first of all thank everyone. Staff and fiscal. I heard about your growth. It's a very welcoming community. I've welcomed right now. Thank you. This is day 10 for me, and I'm looking at breakneck speed to get up to speed on everything that's going on in town.
Jen, don't burn them out.
It's a good thing you're putting in new flooring in the building I'm in, because I'm wearing out that trip to see Walter and Danny. They can hear me coming, and So, my first focus is get up to speed on projects that are underway, and try to meet those folks as quickly as I can. Also, targeting owners of business properties so I get to know them. Meetings with state and regional development agencies that can help sugar growth, and then lastly, just meeting the contacts that I have in the Chicago area, brokerage and development world to start telling sugar growth story. So a lot to do, but really enjoyed myself so far, and thanks to everyone for making me feel like I'm part of that.
Thank you, Michael.
Just 2 items to add. One, hopefully at the next meeting, you'll see at least one monitor between this room and the conference room. So parts and pieces are arriving now on a daily basis. So that project is happening. And then the second one is that you're here for the meeting on Friday. Timing's good with the traffic update. We've got Michael, Walter, Jen, and myself meeting with prospective purchaser of what we refer to as BEI, or Gigolo? I don't know. Property across from the line. So, as you'll recall, a month or so ago, we had a first meeting with a group that was talking about putting from memory, I want to say a 500,000 square foot facility, 100 acres, with a lot of it having tractor trailer, car parking. We expressed a lot of concern, and they said they want to meet with us again, and they believe they would address our concerns. So we're eager to hear what they have to say. So that is on Friday. We'll report back after we have a meeting with them. What we want.
Which location?
Right across from the line.
Oh, okay.
Sign the PEI, Enterprises.
176.
67. I wrote it down.
Oh, I'm dyslexic. 106.
I had it written down. It's still had it wrong. So.
I keep saying 176. It's going to be corrected. All right. I'll let you know. Any questions for Brent? No? All right. Mike?
Not a lot for me, because I missed the meeting last week. I had to miss the meeting from the Aurora Area Convention Visitors Bureau, which was unfortunate. They didn't supply any minutes. I wanted to see the presentation of the software that they've been talking about the last couple of meetings here. So I'm going to try to catch up with the court and do some sort of a debrief or demo. And then I'm out of cycle that I reported the last time on the Forest Preserve Commission and the Sugar Bowl project.
Thank you.
The airport is again doing a blood drive.
Yeah, I just pulled it up to confirm the date.
Yes, family went last year. Sad it was the 6-year-olds at the time who were able to pilot helicopters, take them up. It was just a great time. So make sure if you go, sign up to take the ride. And they have great food trucks. It's a great time. The goal this year, I think, is to become friends. We can get the single largest event for food, for pleasure.
Yep, it's this Saturday. Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
They have a car show there.
You can use the simulator to fly the. So if somebody doesn't know the plane, you can use their simulator too. Or no.
They didn't have that last year.
Oh, well, I think it's on their brochure here. They're doing it as well. So good family event too.
It's a great family.
Yes.
What else is that? People required related to that for the liquor license?
She said, she's working.
So apparently you can drink out there too, I guess.
Yes.
They call us about a liquor license. We said, not in the village.
Right, they're out of
Lodi, that house?
Lodi.
Some out there. Alcohol. There you go.
Interesting. Yeah.
Good for the fly.
Well, good, and go donate, right, go donate some blood.
Without blood. So first you give the blood so that the alcohol.
That's right. Yes,
Give me the fast one. And then you let the 5-year-olds fly. What could go wrong?
Trustee Heron. Anything?
Nothing.
School's almost over.
12 days.
12 days, okay.
12
business
more days
days.
of traffic, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, this can't come soon enough. And I'm in, I need a vest and some, we're getting a new principal, he's coming back. So, which is exciting. And so I just want to give him a heads up that I'll be out there with my wand and my vest to be driving some traffic next season. I think that's a good picture too. It happens every day. That's how I drive traffic over there. So if Esther gets backed up, you can blame me because I'm usually first in line. One cheater goes, I send the line. It's on record. That's how I do it.
So is the new principal an old principal?
Yes.
Which one?
Doctor?
Right.
Oh.
Brought him back from 2 years ago, 3 years
He
ago.
was there when my daughter was a freshman, so 6th grade, she's in 8th grade now, so 2 years.
Yeah.
Did that have anything to do with the leaving?
Yeah, that's right. Conan showed up. Watch out.
There's another one coming, they're gonna take break.
I know. All good. Finish strong, John. Heidi?
I know that the foundation program, library begins May 25th.
It begins on the 25th?
Yep.
Okay.
And,
Which program?
Summer reading?
Summer,
Oh, okay.
and the reading program. We have the, I guess they have their kickoff on Saturday, June 4th. But they say, begin logging May 25th. I know they have 2 new self-checkout machines that they got. Other than that, I'll be my schedule and meeting with their board meetings, but I get information so they get all their emails and updates.
Do they have a vacancy on their board?
I don't. They did.
I don't know if it's filled.
I thought they filled it, but I can find out if they did. Their meetings end up, I'm already at the pace 10 times.
No, I get it. It's a lot. Well, that's good though. I know that is a successful program for them at the library, so.
Yeah,
hopefully
so
more kids-
yeah, the kickoff is Saturday, June 4th.
Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. Anything else? I'm sorry. No, perfect. Trustee Bonnie.
Nothing of value tonight.
Nothing of value. Okay.
Not a value.
I have a couple items, and I will go through them quickly because I know you guys are anxious to get out of here this evening. But Groove in the Grove meeting. So I participated in a meeting a couple weeks ago. Michael, for your benefit, there are summer concerts that happen in the community. There are 3 scheduled June, July, and August. They're free concerts to the residents, but they are paid for in partnership with the Village of Sugar Grove, the Township of Sugar Grove, and the Park District. And the library pays a small funding fee for something.
Licensing fees.
Okay. So, and we use their property.
The library covers electricity.
Yes, we use their property for the event. So one of the things that came up was because we have our special use, special event permit for, food trucks and that kind of thing. In the process of going through that paperwork and making sure people are insured, and obviously, if you were here last year, you saw the county will show up and make sure that you've gone through the county for a health inspection, right? But one of the things that came up was the fact that we want our names on there, so that we're protected as a building, something that we have on their insurance policy. And it kind of raised an issue with, well, what about everybody else? What about the park strict, and I said, I totally understand. So there's some conversation about getting through the year that people maybe will do an NFP or some organization will get themselves together versus having us all just be part of our own entity. So hopefully that moves forward. But one of the other things that came out was discussion about moving Food Truck Friday events. And we talked about it in the fall, but then having it be incorporated with the Grove concerts. And the reason it came up was because the Corn Boil was back on in July. They have 3 events, so that's 4 summer events, and then we add ours. It was kind of like, well, I'm trying to put them in the gaps, if you will, so that it's not too much happening. And they were worried about the food trucks maybe not wanting to do it if there's only this small little window for the Groove in the Grove concert. But even though they have some food trucks that are coming, that window would be really small, and that maybe some food truck vendors won't want to come. But if we incorporate the Food Truck Friday event on the Thursday night, then it would be a bigger food truck event. It might draw more traffic to the Groove in the Grove concert. And the other thing with that was there was original discussion about the road, and I said, well, under the last director, she didn't want to put food trucks on library property, but I really think if you don't park on library property, if you put food trucks around the horseshoe, then you can utilize this parking here for folks to go through the road, as well as I have to ask the landlord about parking at the office building. So I don't know if anybody had any thoughts on that, incorporating them, if you think it's going to be too much. I know that they at least wanted to maybe try one time and see how it went.
You gotta be careful of having too much of a good thing. I mean, the turnout for the Food Truck Fridays has been fantastically great, where they're running out of food basically every time it's happening, and you're waiting in line for a good 45 minutes to get a meal, which is great for social and that sort of stuff. But I would think if the possibility of having the two, you might find out one's taking away from the other. Right? It ceases to become so much of a musical act. Let's sit and watch a nice concert, versus a little more of a carnival atmosphere that you might have on the corner. Was it I didn't think it was you that serve at the
I think a lot of people are keen for the Food Truck Fridays. I know last year people looked at a lot of that's bad. A lot of people showed up to get to go home. I think with parking, a lot of people go to Groove and Grove, they would probably not partake in that event just because of the traffic, parking, walking over to get food. So if we do have bad weather days or days that are rainy, we can do that.
I'd rather have more events than fewer bigger ones.
That's
my take.
I wanted your opinion. I got it. I hear you. I think Brad is working on a sponsor for our first event, so I can thank him. Hopefully he gets that locked out. But and then so it's good.
Hilarious. Thanks, Tony.
The law is down there.
The law office. Oh God! As you saw, I did attend the Metro West monthly meeting on Thursday last week at a new facility in Oswego. Talk about new. It was drywall. And we ate there, but that's okay. Downstairs was really. We ate upstairs. I had a nice meeting with Brendan, who's of Italian, who's the acting chief over the Fire Protection District, so it's nice to have that introduction and good working relationship with the Fire Protection District, so I hope that continues for all of us. I did have an opportunity to introduce Michael last week to Terry and Jennifer from Crown. So he has introductions with those folks, and we're hopeful through my conversations with them and Michael's introduction, now Michael on board, that they will move forward up there with kind of a mixed-use development and incorporate some of the feedback that they heard when the residents were not thrilled about the first pass, as why I'm sitting here, but, and they know that, by the way, but that's all right. So, we're hopeful that they will bring us a new plan, and they're working to hopefully get that property, back in the village at least, and use Michael's talents to, attract businesses that, we want here, the community wants here. So, that was nice. I hope that you enjoyed that meeting. Yeah, it was good. It was productive. Also last Friday, our big turnout for Arbor Day. Which was nice, and it was kind of a last minute throw together how it went out there. I didn't realize quite how much work went into it for your staff. So Brad was gracious enough to explain it to me. But there was a process. How many applications did you get? 55 applications. So, which is great, but then I didn't realize that the staff has to go evaluate each site to see if it qualifies for a tree. And I had no idea, but he's got it on file, so next year, why are you looking?
He didn't evaluate 55 of them, did he?
Well, Brad didn't, his staff.
You and I said, this one works, they won.
No, we had to make sure they met all the criteria.
I would just quietly pick the winner, check that one, and if it was good, I know. If it wasn't, I'd pick somebody else. I don't know.
It's a random wheel thing.
I know what you're saying, but.
It was a process, and what was nice about it is we want to plant trees, especially at Arbor Day and in celebration of Arbor Day, and give back to the community at the same time. So it was nice. I did see, my gosh, Mayor Northmore on his Facebook page. We got Step It Up Sugar Grove, because you know I'm highly competitive. So they had kids. They, instead of like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, it was like leaves, limbs, and roots. I mean, it was a whole.
You got that next time?
Right. I mean, I'm like, it was a whole, and I'm thinking, and then there was us. I shoveled some dirt, but we're gonna do something special next year. So I saw that. No,
It is going to retire.
Well, it was nice. What they did was nice. They had a lot of, children obviously turn out, and their public works staff was all doing the dance, which I thought was amazing. You gotta make that. It was great. And lastly, I had the pleasure today of having a breakfast with Mayor Urban and Senator DeWitt and Severson and Brett Piper and other mayors from the area, and Trustee Bounty attended. So it was a nice opportunity for Mayor Urban to get in front of a group as he's running for governor and share his platform and what he'd like to do, and then for us as well to say, hey, these are our struggles. And I'm not shy to share our struggles, so it was just great. He was very genuine and appreciated his time, and I asked him not to change his cell phone number because right now he answers my call. So should it change? I want to make sure that we're still on the top of it. So that's what's going on from my side of things, and that's it. That wraps it up.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn, and a trustee White, and a second on trustee Aaron. Roll call, please, Allison. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Aaron.
No.
Trustee Bonnie. Trustee Lundy. Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes, everyone. Have a great night.